You think you landed in this life by chance, in this body, this family, this timeline. You didn't. You chose it. Before time, before breath, before the name you answer to now, your soul was awake. Not just awake, but aware. And in that higher state, you saw a planet spinning in density. You saw a world addicted to forgetting. You saw pain, confusion, control, chaos. And you said, "Put me there." Not to suffer, but to remember. Because the soul doesn't evolve through comfort. It evolves through contrast, through forgetting, then finding its way back to the light. And that's what this life is, a sacred amnesia, a chosen veil, a test not of worth, but of remembrance. You didn't come here to be perfect. You came here to practice being eternal inside a temporary experience. The things you struggle with, the people who trigger you, the wounds you carry like shadows, they're not punishment. They're part of the curriculum you chose before your first breath. And deep inside, you know that's true, because nothing hurts more than a lesson your soul already knew, but agreed to relearn. Long before you were born, long before the first heartbeat, there was a moment, still, silent, infinite. In that moment, your soul was invited to choose. Choose the body, choose the lessons, choose the timeline, choose the level of forgetting. And you chose this one, this family, this name, this story, with all its heartbreak, beauty, pressure, and chaos. Not out of punishment, out of precision, because your soul knew, I can grow from this. I can remember inside this pain. I can carry light into this dark. Some call it a soul contract, a blueprint, a pre-birth plan. But it's not a rigid script. It's more like a map with key coordinates, moments you agreed to face, people you agreed to meet, truths you agreed to remember, no matter how deep the forgetting. You may have even chosen your wounds, not because you deserved them, but because they would crack you open. Some souls came here to build, some to break the cycle, some to hold space, some to burn the whole thing down and start again. But all of us, we came to remember. And what you're going through right now, it's not off course, it's activation. Every hardship, every delay, every betrayal is pushing you toward the coordinates you already chose. And when you finally reach one of them, like this moment right now when something inside you whispers, "This feels true," that's your soul nodding from the other side of the veil. You're not lost. You're right on time. You were infinite. You remembered everything. Lifetimes, lessons, stars, names, worlds built and collapsed long before this one. So why forget? Why come here, into density, pain, confusion, and let it all slip away? Because remembering while awake is not the same as remembering from the dark. Your soul didn't come here to recite truth. It came to become it, through friction. Only in forgetting does remembering become real. Only in darkness does light become choice. And this world, it's designed for forgetting. It teaches you to worship the surface, to identify with the noise, to believe you are the mask. From the moment you're born, you're told, who you are, what to believe, what to fear, what to chase, what to never question. The veil isn't just spiritual, it's cultural, emotional, energetic. But here's the miracle. The soul agreed to all of it. It said, "Let me fall asleep so I can learn how to wake myself up. Let me lose the map so I can remember I am the compass. Let me forget who I am so I can choose who I become." That's the power of Earth. It's a school of remembrance, and the more brutal the forgetting, the more powerful the awakening. So if you felt lost, heavy, broken, know this: you're not behind, you're not weak, you're not cursed, you're remembering. And that means you're exactly where your soul needs to be. You didn't just choose the life, you chose the souls. Every major player in your story, the ones who loved you, the ones who hurt you, the ones who stayed too long or left too soon, they were chosen, not because they were perfect, but because they carried the frequencies your soul needed to meet. The comfort, the betrayal, the challenge, the echo of a wound that wasn't even from this lifetime. Some souls came to mirror your light, others came to poke your shadow. The ones who abandoned you, they may have agreed to play that part so you'd finally choose not to abandon yourself. The one who broke your heart, maybe they cracked it open so something real could finally get in. This isn't about blame. This isn't about excusing harm. This is about sacred context. Your soul didn't come here to avoid pain. It came to alchemize it. And the people who challenge you the most, they often carry the heaviest contracts. It's not about romanticizing suffering. It's about reclaiming your role in your own evolution. Because when you see your life as random, you become a victim. But when you see it as chosen, you become a creator. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to awaken in me?" Because that's the real mission, to find the lesson in the friction, to meet the divine, even in the wound. And when you can do that, you don't just heal, you graduate. There are moments in life that don't just shake you, they shatter you. The breakup, the death, the diagnosis, the betrayal, the total collapse of who you thought you were. And in those moments, you ask, "Why is this happening to me? Where is God? Did I do something wrong?" But from the soul's perspective, those moments aren't punishments. They're activations. You see, before you came here, you didn't just choose a path of light. You chose key moments of disruption, places in your timeline where the old code would no longer be allowed to run. Moments where everything false would collapse, so only what's real could remain. You don't awaken because life goes smoothly. You awaken because it stops making sense, because the story breaks, because the roles fall apart, because the mask no longer fits, and you have no choice but to take it off. These are not random breakdowns. They are pre-coded soul alarms, triggers to force a question, a silence, a surrender. The pain cracks open the identity you inherited, but never chose. And in the rubble, you find something terrifying and liberating. You are not who you thought you were. You are more. Because what breaks was never you. It was the false structure you agreed to live inside until your soul said, "Now. Now remember. Now awaken. Now rebuild." Not from the programming, but from the truth. Something strange happens the moment you stop living from the script and start living from the soul, reality shifts, not all at once, but undeniably. The right people show up, not because you chase them, but because they match your new frequency. The wrong people fall away, not in chaos, but in clarity. You stop fighting for things that once defined you. You stop begging life to approve your worth. You start remembering it was never up for debate. And as you come back to your soul's path, you realize the external world was never the point. It was the mirror, a reflection of your inner alignment or misalignment. So when you shift inside, the mirror must shift too. You move from survival into flow, from fear into trust, from control into awareness. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped betraying yourself to survive it. This is the beginning of a new timeline, not the one you were handed, but the one your soul always held. A path you couldn't see before, because it required a version of you who hadn't been born yet. But now you've met them, and they're not new, they're ancient. They are you, after the remembering. So if your soul chose this life, this timeline, these people, these lessons, does that mean everything is fate? Not quite. What your soul chose was potential, not a prison, a blueprint, not a script, coordinates, not chains. Yes, you agreed to key moments. Yes, there are soul contracts, themes, and lessons woven into your path. But how you meet them, that's up to you. You always have a choice, to avoid or to face, to numb or to feel, to repeat or to evolve, to sleepwalk or to wake the hell up. Free will is the power the system fears most, because when you stop reacting from programming and start responding from presence, you break the loop. You step off the predictable track and onto the path only your soul can see. Every decision becomes a frequency shift. Every yes and no becomes a realignment. Every act of self-trust becomes a signal to the universe. I remember who I am. I choose to live like it. The truth is, you are more free than you were ever told. And fate, it bends around your awareness. The more conscious you become, the less your life runs on default. You are not here to follow a map. You are here to become the navigator, not to repeat the plan blindly, but to co-create it with the divine. Your soul brought you here, but your choices, they shape the world it wakes up in. You came here for a reason, not to be perfect, not to win the game, but to remember who you are inside the forgetting. You chose this life, this path, this skin, this voice. You knew it would be hard. You knew you'd doubt. You knew the veil would be heavy, but you also knew you could wake up. And now you have the signs you couldn't explain, the dreams that haunted you, the deep knowing that you were meant for more. They were all breadcrumbs from your own soul. You left them for yourself, clues in the chaos, codes in the pain. Now you see them. Now you feel the pull. Now you understand.